TBN View. Bengal on the brink. Can the center guard every doorstep? Watch here.
Peg the incumbent retaining power with 120 to 140 seats. That leaves a 60-seat gap between human analysts and machine learning models. All three camps are processing the exact same 92+% turnout data, yet they are arriving at entirely contradictory outcomes. Bengal contains 294 assembly seats in total. To determine if that 201-seat AI projection is an algorithmic glitch or an accurate forecast, we need to reverse engineer its assumptions step by step. The state's electoral geography splits cleanly into two primary operational theaters. Phase 1 covers Jungle Mahal and North Bengal, while Phase 2 covers the south. Looking at Phase 1, this northern and western territory holds 152 of the available seats. To reach a 210-seat outcome, a tracker calculates a sweep in the north, requiring a strike rate of over 85% across these 152 seats. Mathematically, that performance instantly banks them roughly 130 seats. Shifting down to Phase 2, South Bengal offers the remaining 142 seats. To bridge the gap from 130 and cross that 200 threshold, the challenger must extract 70 to 80 seats from this lower zone. Politically, South Bengal operates as the heavily fortified heartland of the incumbent TMC. The algorithms interpret the 92.6% turnout in this specific region as a quiet, highly mobilized consolidation of voters breaking through those historical defenses. The entire mathematical validity of the 200-seat wave depends strictly on the challenger successfully flipping this southern stronghold. Extreme voter turnout cuts two ways. At these volume levels, the numbers are driven by two distinct, highly specific voter reactions. First, the data shows specific geographic pockets where the turnout meter redlines at exactly 97. Algorithms classify this opposing metric as an aggressive, ideological drive for a change in government. Human forecasters usually look at these two massive countersurges and assume they will simply cancel each other out, locking the region into a tight stalemate. The machine learning models process this differently. Instead of assuming a tie, they calculate the exact mathematical tiebreakers where these two voting blocks collide. Because both demographics are voting at peak historical maximums, the wide margin strongholds are already locked down. The entire election is forced into the most contested margins. That polarization creates a severe mathematical bottleneck, narrowing the actual battleground down to just 57 swing seats. These constituencies are defined by razor-thin margins. In the 2021 election, each of these seats was decided by fewer than 3,000 votes. If we dim the predictable regions on the map, these 57 illuminated points show us exactly where the final outcome will be decided. Those massive demographic pressures, the 97% defensive wall and the 90% pro-change push, are physically colliding inside these 57 microgeographies. When overall volume surges 10 to 15% above the previous election, models relying on historical polling data are forced into unmapped statistical territory. The AI applies a distinct hypothesis to these 57 points. It calculates that the sheer volume of the pro-change consolidation mathematically exceeds the maximum ceiling of the defensive entrenchment. A 210-seat sweep does not rely on vague statewide sentiment. It relies exclusively on the challenger breaking through these 57 localized choke points. There is one final, largely unmeasured variable acting on this equation, the Special Intensive Revision, or SIR. The administrative scale of this revision is massive. It resulted in the deletion of 90 lakh, or 9 million, names from the official voter rolls. These physical records show how meticulously individual identities are tracked, verified, and eventually scrubbed from the lists. Removing 9 million names from the voter rolls changes the weight of every remaining ballot cast on Election Day. This chart illustrates the effect on our swing seats. When you apply the SIR deletions to a tight sub-3,000 vote margin, the total height drops and shifts the exact proportional margin required to secure a victory. Deleting thousands of names from a list where the winner was decided by fewer than 3,000 votes resets the math for both candidates. The tracker's 210-seat forecast assumes that the SIR deletions, when paired with the 90% majority turnout, will overcome the incumbent's lead in South Bengal. On counting day, ignore the early, noisy top-line numbers. If you want to know whether the algorithms outsmarted the analysts, strictly track the margins in those 57 swing seats. In the 2026 West Bengal elections, an astonishing 93 opposition leaders like Suvendu Adhikari are being physically heckled, and voters who supported the opposition are receiving retaliatory threats from local political cadres. The political machinery has pushed mass mobilization to its absolute limits, turning the democratic process itself into an engine for localized, street-level conflict. This chart breaks down the 93% state average into demographic extremes. In minority pockets, turnout hit a staggering 97%, a defensive vote protecting the incumbent. Conversely, Hindu-dominated zones crossed 90%, signaling a strong ideological push. When voting blocks separate so cleanly along community lines, political scientists call it demographic mobilization. It acts as a clear warning sign of deep social fractures. Advanced AI tracking models interpret this massive turnout across both demographics as a sign that the opposition has finally breached the tightly contested swing seats in South Bengal. This total mobilization across both demographics turns the election into a high-stakes pressure cooker, where any final result will likely meet immediate resistance. This map displays the projections from aggressive AI tracking data, which predicts a 201 to 210 seat landslide for the BJP, based on these high turnout metrics. However, these models rely exclusively on the votes that were actually cast, overlooking the millions of citizens who were excluded from the process. During the recent Special Intensive Revision, a bureaucratic process meant to update and clean voter lists, a staggering 90 lakh names were deleted from the rolls. Millions of these disenfranchised citizens are now gathering in rural squares across the state, acting as an unquantifiable accelerant to the building tension. A clean, algorithmic victory mapped out on a digital screen holds very little weight if the human fallout from 90 lakh excluded voters ignites the streets. To contain this powder keg, the Union Home Ministry deployed 70,000 Central Armed Police Force personnel to remain stationed in Bengal for 60 days. Central leadership has repeatedly guaranteed that no citizen will be left to the mercy of political goons this time around. But the brutal logistical truth is that while 70,000 troops can successfully lock down ballot strongrooms and major intersections, they cannot physically guard every single alleyway across 294 constituencies. The central security apparatus provides a powerful deterrent against large-scale clashes, but it is mathematically insufficient to prevent hyper-localized, doorstep-level retribution. The state is locked in a tense countdown to May 4th result day, where the dreaded burning Bengal cycle threatens to trigger once again. You can see the deep-seated anger from previous cycles of political violence still demanding justice on the streets. The final test for the security forces is whether they can finally break the 2021 cycle, or if the price of an AI-predicted victory will inevitably be paid in blood. The ultimate test of Bengal's democracy is whether the ordinary citizen can survive the aftermath of their own vote.
Remember, choice is not longer just political. It is a matter of national survival.